Most people at 21 are finishing college, maybe starting their first job, maybe figuring out what they want to do with their lives. The 10 people on this list had already figured it out. By 21, some of them were running operations worth millions of dollars. By 23, some of them controlled entire cities. By 25, some of them were either dead, in prison, or on the run. These are the 10 kingpins who built empires before they were old enough to rent a car. Every entry on this list made more money than the one before it, and every single one of them paid for it. Number 10, Maxine Walter, known as Red Top, Harlem, New York, age 16. Estimated earnings, $300,000 a month. Before we start counting millionaires in their 20s, remember that number 10 on this list was just 16 years old. Maxine Walter was known in the 1970s Harlem as Red Top. She worked for two of the biggest names in the game, Frank Matthews and Frank Lucas, and she earned their respect the hard way by being better at the job than most of the men around her. Red Top came to school in fur coats. She bragged to her teachers that she could make $300,000 in a single month. She took classmates and teachers on shopping sprees. While other 16-year-olds were worrying about prom, Red Top had her own product stamp, a brand called DOA, Dead on Arrival. Frank Matthews gave it to her because he respected her hustle. Her beauty and her money made her the center of attention in every room. Pee Wee Kirkland and Freddie Myers fought over her. She ran with Harlem legends West Indian Chuck, Stevie Baker, and Cisco Kid. She operated at the same level as men twice her age. Then it ended. Red Top was killed accidentally by Nicky Barnes's bodyguard, a man called Black Sunday who was trying to shoot someone else. At her funeral, Nicky Barnes paid Sammy Davis Jr. to sing. Every major dealer in Harlem showed up to pay their respects to a teenage girl who had made more money in a month than most of them made in a year. She was 16, and she was already a legend. Number 9, Craig Petties, Memphis, Tennessee, age 18. Estimated earnings over $10 million by his early 20s. At 18 years old, Craig Petties recovered $500,000 in cash from an impounded car for a jailed dealer. The dealer never saw that money again. Petties kept it and used it to build an empire. By 22, he had paid off a house in a middle-class suburb, bought a Bentley for $339,000 and a Mercedes for $112,000. By 23, he was moving 200 pounds of marijuana and 22 pounds of cocaine through direct connections to Mexico. What made Petties different was his cartel connection. While most American dealers were buying from middlemen, Petties was dealing directly with the Sinaloa cartel, the most powerful criminal organization on the planet. His operation stretched across 8 states. The violence was extreme. Petties ordered the murder of his own cousin, Antonio Allen, for cooperating with police. Allen was killed by his own friend, a man who had been offered $100,000 to do it. That friend had known Allen for 16 years. He hid behind a bush outside Allen's house and shot him with guns in both hands. When federal agents finally caught him, Petties was living in Mexico with his wife and 5 children, 3 of whom were born under fake names. The authorities told him his children would not be allowed back into the United States unless he talked. He talked. He received 9 life sentences. It was the largest drug case in Memphis federal court history. It all started with a teenager stealing $500,000 from an impound lot. Azie Faison, Harlem, New York, age 21. Estimated earnings, over $10 million a year. Azie Faison watched the movie Scarface in 1983 and decided that was going to be his life. He was 19 years old. Within 2 years, Faison became the cocaine wholesaler in Harlem, earning over $40,000 a week. By 21, he was one of the biggest distributors in the state of New York. He reconnected with a childhood friend named Rich Porter and was introduced to a young dealer named Alpo Martinez. Together, the three of them became the most famous trio in Harlem's crack era. The 2002 movie Paid in Full was based on their lives. The character Azie represents Azie, Rico represents Alpo, and Ace represents Rich Porter. But unlike the other two, Azie survived. Rich was murdered by Alpo. Alpo was murdered on the streets of Harlem in 2021. Azie walked away. He became an anti-drug activist. He produced a documentary called Game Over about his life. He spoke at the Harlem Book Fair alongside a congressman. He made over $10 million a year before he was old enough to rent a car. Then, he did something almost nobody on this list managed to do. He quit and he lived. Number 7. Rich Porter, Harlem, New York, age 22. Estimated earnings over $20 million. Rich Porter didn't just sell product, he sold a lifestyle. By his early 20s, Rich was one of the most recognized figures in Harlem. Luxury cars, designer clothes, money flowing through every block he touched. Along with Alpo Martinez and Azie Faison, he was one of the three kings of Harlem's crack era. The 2002 movie Paid in Full was based on their lives. Rich made over $20 million before most people his age had finished college. But the money came with a price that nobody could have predicted. In 1990, Rich's 12-year-old brother Don L. was kidnapped and held for a $500,000 ransom. While Rich was trying to negotiate his brother's release, his best friend and business partner, Alpo Martinez, shot him dead. Rich was 25. Without Rich alive to pay the ransom, Don L. was murdered. His body was found shortly after. A family destroyed, an empire ended, all before the man who built it turned 26. Number 6 is Fat Cat Nichols from Jamaica, Queens. He was aged 24. Estimated earnings $20 million a year. By 24 years old, Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols was running a $20 million a year operation from the back office of a corner deli in Jamaica, Queens. Big Mac's Deli. 300 workers. He bought cocaine from the Italian mafia and product from the Chinese. But Fat Cat did not just build an empire. He destroyed everyone close to him. He ordered the murder of his parole officer for arresting him. He ordered the murder of his ex-girlfriend, the 20-year-old mother of his son. Their child was with her when she was shot. He ordered the murder of his childhood friend. His wife was kidnapped. His mother's house was firebombed. His half-sister died in the fire. His entire family was arrested. After 34 years in prison, the state of New York paroled him in 2022. Police unions were outraged. $20 million a year from a deli, and the man who earned it destroyed every person who loved him. Number 5. Billy Joe Chambers, Detroit, Michigan, age 24, estimated earnings over $1 million a day. Billy Joe Chambers came from Lee County, Arkansas, a cotton farming family with 14 children in a town where black people had no future. He left for Detroit looking for a job. He found something else. By his early 20s, Billy Joe and his three brothers, Larry, Willie Lee, and Otis, had built one of the largest crack cocaine operations in American history. They used abandoned buildings as crack houses, employed hundreds of workers, and ran the operation like a franchise. Workers had time cards. They clocked in and they clocked out. They worked shifts, 2-for-1 deals, discount coupons on rocks. They were running a crack corporation. At its peak, the Chambers Brothers operation was generating over $1 million a day from crack cocaine sold out of abandoned buildings in Detroit. The movie New Jack City was inspired by their operation. They recruited teenagers from their hometown in Arkansas, brought them to Detroit, and put them to work in the crack houses. Bill Clinton mentioned the Chambers brothers' takedown in his presidential nomination speech. A sitting president referenced a crack operation run by 4 brothers from a cotton farm. All 4 brothers were eventually convicted on federal charges. Their empire collapsed. But at its height, Billy Joe Chambers, a kid from the cotton fields of Arkansas, was making more money per day than most corporations make in a month. He was 24 years old. Number 4, Kenneth Supreme McGriff, Jamaica, Queens, age 21. Estimated net worth $50 million. Kenneth McGriff formed the Supreme Team in 1981 when he was 21 years old. Within 6 years, the organization was generating over $200,000 a day in crack cocaine sales from the Baisley Park houses in Jamaica, Queens. The Supreme Team had over 100 members. They used violence, intimidation, and even corrupt parole officers to maintain control. One parole officer was romantically involved with a Supreme Team member and provided false documents, ammunition, and the home addresses of enemies. When McGriff got out on parole in the mid-1990s, he did not go back to the streets. He went to Hollywood. He linked up with Irv Gotti and helped launch Murder, Inc. Records, the label behind Ja Rule and Ashanti. He produced a film starring Snoop Dogg and Ice-T, but the FBI was watching. They raided Murder, Inc.'s offices. McGriff was connected to the murder of Jam Master Jay from Run DMC. He was convicted of ordering 2 killings and sentenced to life at ADX Florence, the federal supermax, $50 million. From a 21-year-old in the projects to Murder, Inc. Records to a supermax cell. Supreme built 2 empires, one on the streets and one in hip-hop. Both were taken from him. Number 3, Big Meech, Detroit to Atlanta, age 22. Estimated earnings over $100 million. Demetrius Flannery started selling $50 bags of cocaine on the streets of Detroit during his high school years. He and his brother Terry called themselves 50 Boys. By his early 20s, those $50 bags had become a nationwide empire worth over $100 million. The Black Mafia family, known as BMF, eventually stretched across 12 states with over 500 members. They moved multi-kilogram loads of cocaine from Mexican suppliers through Atlanta and distributed them across the country. But Big Meech was not just a dealer, he was a brand builder. BMF Entertainment, a hip-hop record label, laundered money while building a cultural empire. Drake, Lil Wayne, and Jay-Z name-dropped BMF in lyrics. The brand was bigger than the product. The brothers split around 2003. Cooperators from within helped dismantle the organization. Big Meech received 30 years in prison. His brother received 30 years as well. The name BMF still echoes. The television series produced by 50 Cent brought the story to a new generation. It was all built by a kid from Detroit who started with $50 bags in high school. Number 2, Frank Matthews, Brooklyn, New York, age 21. Estimated earnings $77 million a year in today's money. In 1965, a 21-year-old barber from Durham, North Carolina, decided the numbers game was not making enough money. He wanted into the heroin trade. The Italian Mafia, the Gambinos, and the Bonanos both rejected his application. That rejection would cost them more than they ever imagined. Frank Matthews found his own supplier, a Cuban who could ship cocaine and heroin directly from South America. No middlemen, no Italian tax. Within 5 years, Matthews controlled the product trade in 21 states. He was earning $10 million a year in 1972, roughly $77 million in today's money. He had 2 drug mills in Brooklyn, fortified with steel walls and armed guards. He built a mansion on Staten Island across the street from Paul Castellano, the head of the Gambino family. The same family that rejected him was now his neighbor. In 1973, facing 50 years in prison, he vanished with $20 million and was never seen again. He is still on the FBI wanted list more than 50 years later, the richest man to ever disappear. Number 1. Rayful Edmond, Washington, D.C., age 22. Estimated earnings, $70 million a month. 60 Minutes called him the $300 million man. Rayful Edmond started dealing at 9 years old. His mother taught him. Both his parents worked government jobs by day and sold product by night. By age 18, he dropped out of college to work in a cocaine cutting operation. By age 22, he controlled an estimated 60% of the cocaine trade in Washington, D.C. His operation grossed $70 million a month. $70 million a month. He had over 150 soldiers working for him. The way he got there was a connection made in Las Vegas in 1987. At the Sugar Ray Leonard fight, Rayful met a Los Angeles Crip who connected him to Colombian cocaine at wholesale prices. The pipeline transformed everything. Shipments grew to hundreds of kilos per month. During his reign, DC's murder rate doubled. The capital of the United States became the murder capital of the United States because of a 22-year-old kid from Northeast. He was flown to court by helicopter. He was jailed at Quantico Marine Base. Jurors sat behind bulletproof glass. He received a life sentence. From prison, he kept dealing using Pig Latin code that the FBI needed a translator to decode. He snitched 3 separate times to get his mother's 14-year sentence reduced. He died in December 2024 at a halfway house in Miami from a heart attack. He was 60 years old, $70 million a month at 22, the richest and youngest kingpin in the history of Washington, D.C., and possibly the richest person under 25 in the history of American crime. Every person on this list made millions before they turned 25. A 16-year-old girl in a fur coat, an 18-year-old who stole from an impound lot, a 21-year-old who built a record label from a prison cell, a 22-year-old who made $70 million a month and controlled a capital city. And every single one of them learned the same lesson. The money comes fast, but it leaves faster. And it always takes something with it that you can't get back.